almost lost the cup and you win it. The new European champions, the treble, the dream come true for you.
Oh, I can't believe it. I can't believe it. Football, bloody hell. But they never give in. And that's the winner.
Welcome to the American Red Devils podcast. I'm John.
I'm Alex.
And we're bringing you the best Manchester United news from this side of the pond.
I don't care who you play, whether it's a high school team, a junior college team, a college team, much less an NFL team. When you turn the ball over 5 times, 4 interceptions, 1 for a touchdown, 3 others in field position to set up touchdowns, you ain't gonna beat anybody I just talked about. Anybody. All right? And that was a disgraceful performance, in my opinion. We threw that game. We gave it away by doing that. We gave them the friggin' game. In my opinion, that sucked. You can't turn the ball over 5 times like that. Holy crap. I don't know who the hell we think we are when we do something like that. Unbelievable. 5 turnovers. One of them, we've thrown 4 interceptions for touchdowns this year. That might be an NFL record. That's pitiful. I mean, it's absolutely pitiful to perform like that. Pitiful.
And there we have it. That's pitiful performance from Manchester United. Some NFL coaching ranting, trying to sum up how the American Red Devils feel. Disaster away at Newcastle and a huge game to boot. We show up wet noodle after going into the international break with Fulham coming in our house and arguably bossing us for 70 minutes to the same tune that Newcastle did. We're a rudderless ship without Casemiro. Can our genius manager fix it? Alex, what do you say?
Ooh, sir, how we doing? How we doing? United stumble out of the international break just like we were stumbling into it. This was always one of the more challenging matches headed into this run of fixtures away against Newcastle, an up and rising Newcastle. They want to get some revenge on United, and we laid an egg, buddy. We laid an egg, simple as that. We didn't show up. United weren't very good. Simple as that. Couldn't play out of the back. Midfield, there was nothing doing. And then when we got the ball going forward, you have this big lump of Dutch clay that can't do fucking shit. But it's not just his fault. United just didn't show up. I think this is one of the few examples where you could say the manager didn't get it right. That 11, that approach didn't make sense. United, all over the place. Let Newcastle in and let them run riot, to be honest. And De Gea had a bunch of really good saves in the first half. Honestly, kept United in it. We were lucky to go in at halftime 0-0. And then it was just more of the same. No adjustments. And the adjustments that did come came too late. And it's one of those games where, the sky has fallen. Everyone's losing their mind. We dropped down into 4th place. Newcastle are now even on points, but they have this significant goal differential. And I think what we're seeing is the highs under this manager have been high, and the lows, when we have them, they're low. When we get beat up, we get beat up. And today we got beat up. The scoreline, I think, did us justice. Just where I think the 7-0 against the Scousers, that was an unfair scoreline. This was probably unfair to Newcastle. They should have gotten probably 4-0. De Gea did really well. We had a couple goal line clearances. They hit the post. They hit the crossbar. And what are you going to do? We got to lick our wounds, move on to the midweek game because 3 points are 3 points, and we got to start picking up 3 points. And Newcastle, that's one thing, but Brentford, they did us dirty early in the season. Remember, that's when the famous 13-kilometer run happened after we got just dusted in London at the very beginning of the season in August. Now we need a win. We need 3 points. Brentford, they're a tough team. We're still without our boy, and we need a result. So how we feeling? We got to step back and make the most of what we got and an opportunity to basically right the wrongs today, because today that was no fun for nobody.
No fun for Manchester United fans. Like you said, everyone losing their marbles on the Twitter sphere, on the YouTube sphere. We're going to do our best to keep it straight here at the American Red Devils. Look, I warned about this one. We did the preview pod for all those who actually follow us and listen regularly. I said I was worried. You never know with United how we're going to look. We went into an international break like the wheels were about to fall off or the car was wobbly, and we showed up with a proper wet noodle. This one for me just stings in a lot of regards. It's because the years building up to this, the moments that we've missed out. Yes, we did win the EFL final, but we've struggled since. I felt like Erik ten Hag didn't take the lessons of that match and then implement it here. Obviously, Newcastle are going to be hot to trot. Obviously, this is a huge match as it relates to top four, and we need to put daylight between Newcastle and us. Winning this would cement our position in top four, put less stress on Brentford and Everton, etc. But we missed the moment, and I think it's important to say the manager did miss the moment with the midfield, with not changing it at half. I feel like we're just the excuse factory, open for business today.
It's going to be running overtime because you know what? There's blame. There's blame to go around. This United side, we got away with some results in March after the EFL final, right after getting beat up by our rivals to the left, to the west of us on the coast. We're not going to talk about it. And I think you're seeing a little bit of lack of depth, too many matches, and a stubborn manager. At the end of the day, just let me finish what I was going to say. You have plenty of time to interrupt me.
This is excuse factory going way too far. Like you got to blame the players.
You didn't even give me a chance to blame the players because you don't even like what I got to say. Like, I mean, blame to maybe you'll get fired up. Maybe you'll give me a spot.
We're losing it.
This guy's losing his mind. What I'm saying is, sir, the players let him down. You know, but the manager tried the same midfield that he tried against Fulham, and that didn't go very well.
He put McTominay at 10 this time, but then he moved him back
McTominay
to
earned that right because he scored 4 goals for Scotland. I actually thought that might be the move. But at the end of the day, it's like he's also trying to force through Wout again, and he's been getting away with one with Wout Weghorst because you play a striker who basically can't score goals. Just runs around for 90 minutes, offers nothing else.
Well, before we go hard in on individual players, my point that I'm trying to make beyond
these, make a point before you
through the excuse factory is saying this: is that this team doesn't show up, and it hasn't shown up in years before Ten Hag has been here. So as much as you can blame the players are a lot of them are the same. We go on these streaks where it's like, what is going to get this team to show up from minute one in a big match against Newcastle? Who's going to put in a hard challenge? Who's going to be the general on the field to set the tone, to ensure that we don't wet noodle the first half? Somehow we get through 0-0, and then the manager didn't make the adjustments. So I think everyone deserves to blame. But if they show up and they beat Brentford, we're good. The question is, can Erik ten Hag right the ship? It's his job at the end of the day. But these players, we've seen this before. Game after game after game, slow start, bad defending, disorganized. And without Casemiro, it seems like Ole FC. Is it Ole FC with no Casemiro, sir? What do you think?
You want my take, or are you gonna let me start and then just interrupt me, sir? Well, a lot of the same players. Oh, throw your hands up all you want. A lot of these players are Ole Gunnar Solskjaer players, sir. But at the end of the day, they've put in good performances. Obviously, we're going to have a step down with our best players missing. And I would argue that, like, you know what? You lose a Varane, you lose a Martinez, you lose a De Gea, you lose a Bruno, you lose a Rashford. We would see a similar step down because we don't have any depth in any of those positions. You lose any of those players, and the drop down to the next available guy it's immense. So Casemiro, he's a different type of player. He offers a different level of consistency and tenacity and brings everybody up. But we're also missing Eriksen. We're also missing a number 9 who could score goals because we don't have that. And you know what? It's going to be a bit of a bear to get through these next 2 games without him. They're super important matches because, like you said, if we beat Brentford, nobody gives a shit. It's like Newcastle, whatever. The game that mattered was the EFL Cup final 5 weeks ago. And at the end of the day, yeah, we lost. It's a bummer. But this is going to be a knife fight to the very end for top 4, right? We are not going to have it settled in April or May. It's going to go down probably the last game of the season. And that's just the way it is. But it's going to be a challenge for the manager because he needs to make the most of the 11 that he had today and basically get a win against a team that is pretty good. Not as good as Newcastle, but Brentford's a solid side. And what midfield do you play on that side, you know? And who do you play up front? Because I think it's time to give old 27 a little rest on the bench.
Yeah, I think we're conflating the two things. You're talking about specific tactics for why Casemiro, while he's out. I'm saying, why do we look like Ole FC without Casemiro? Like, that's the biggest thing, is that we look like we don't have a backbone. We don't have an edge. Who's going to get the boys to show up tight against Brentford? It just seems like we've seen these players come out the same slow, sad start, match after match, and you need leaders on the pitch to set the tone. I think we got him in Martinez. I think we got him in Varane. But, you know, they should have been there today getting the lads up for this game. We knew Newcastle were going to come at us. And we didn't. And that's something about us. We just don't have that dog mentality. We don't have Casemiro, the general in the middle of the pitch for Manchester United. And that's just showing, like, How can 11 players be that reliant on one person to lead them? That's leadership. It's an intangible point that we're making here, but it's so critical to this team because we look so different without Cass. And I think that's why we've fallen in love with this United team, because we look like United of old, because we have that dog and that leader on the pitch. And without him, we look like Ole FC, and it's tough. It's a tough times for Manchester United, and you hate to see us. There's many ways you can lose. So many different ways you can lose a match. But you got to play. You got to show up. You got to play hard. You got to put a tight tackle in. You got to set the tone early. Make them feel your presence. They bossed us. They were more physical than us. They worked harder. They ran harder. It was a joke. United were a joke today. And that's why I think the fans are that upset. That's why you can hear it in our voices. We're upset because it's fine to lose, but losing like that. And that shows to me there is a problem. And can we fix it by Brentford? Let's hope Erik ten Hag can.
It's a big mountain. It's a big mountain to climb because, like you said, it's one thing to get bossed by City or Arsenal, who are top of the table. It's another Newcastle. I mean, they're better Newcastle than they were. They are in third place at the moment, so they're no slouches. But we made them look like superheroes today. We got, like you said, like nothing. We had nothing doing. We had no chances. They had tons of shots. We had one shot on target. And I don't know who it is. Is it the lack of Casemiro? Is it just the role he plays? Is it the fact that he makes everybody better? Because like that back four is pretty good. You had Martinez, Varane, Shaw, and then Delo with De Gea behind him, who had a great game. You should be able to figure it out, but it's that midfield. It's like if we have the midfield, click it. I feel like we can score goals even with a Wout Weghorst. If you don't have that midfield, you have nothing to it because you can't pass out the back. You can't control the game. You can't shut down their midfield coming at you. We are very reliant on Casemiro, and he's only going to get older, right? So it's like, hopefully he doesn't get more and more red cards, but we need to shore up that position and have another player that can come in and at least offer something there, because who's the next man up? I mean, I was a little surprised not to see Fred in this game. I was a little surprised not to see a halftime sub from our manager, not to pull the big man from the manager, but he's stubborn. And he often gets it right. Today he didn't get it right.
Quick PSA for the podcast. If you want to support independent fan content and the Muppet take where we're losing our minds over a Newcastle L, check out our Patreon page, patreon.com/American Red Devils. It's the best way to support the podcast. Keep it ad-free. Tons of benefits as well. You get shirts, stickers, scarves if you sign up, depending on your tier. Support the pod. Please check it out. Keep us ad-free. Also, check out our blog, AmericanRedDevils.com. Great fan-generated blog content. And also, AmericanRedDevils.store for our merch. If Patreon's not your thing, you grab a scarf, you grab a shirt at our store. Support the pod. Tough times at the time. Also, another way to support us, like, subscribe, rate us on all the podcast platforms. Apparently, it helps us get found by other Muppets. Tell them about the review process here, Alex, that you run. A special giveaway.
Right, we're running a top tier. I'll tell you what, like turn around like an Amazon warehouse. Reviews of the American Red Devils podcast, wherever you listen. It's a great way to support the pod. Like John mentioned, helps us get found organically by other Muppets like yourself. And even better, we got an extra special giveaway. We're giving away free American Red Devil Glazer Out design scarves, green and gold, to the club is sold. And guess what? It doesn't look like the club is being sold anytime soon. And all you have to do is write a 5-star review wherever you listen, to ideally on iTunes or Spotify. And send that review to with a screenshot at AmericanRedDevils@gmail.com with your mailing address, and I'll personally pick, pack, and ship a free, like that, pick, pack, and ship a free Glazer Out scarf sent right to your door anywhere in the world. Here's a great one from Joe S3479. Best Manchester United pod. Stumbled on this podcast, and I really am hooked. World-class content from the boys across the pond. Thank you, Joe. World-class content. He does us favors, sir. I don't know. The boys weren't world class today. I'll tell you that.
I don't know if we're world class.
No, we're definitely
or something.
Not. We're class.
World class Muppets, I would say
we're
for sure.
Muppets.
I'll tell you,
at each other.
Us getting
give some context. What's going on
us
today?
getting just smoked by Newcastle definitely does not help their tone for the rest of the day. That's what I'm going to say. It affects you.
It does.
2 weeks. I'm like, we're going to come back.
Excited.
We're going to see
right?
the lads show
excited?
up. And to lay this type of egg. And this egg we've seen laid by this team so many times. And you know what? Who wasn't on the pitch? Harry Magoo. He usually got most of the brunt of the blame. You know what I'm saying?
Who we blame? We're blaming the other big guy. We're blaming the next tallest guy in line.
Yeah, but this is the same movie we've seen before from this United side. We need the badge, the shirt to represent a little more here. And I almost feel like you got to give Erik ten Hag a discount He's new to the
First
EPL, and he should have expected like literally the toughest game of the season. Literally, this should have been like thought of like this is going to be tougher than any game we played. I felt maybe the EFL final was a little easy, and we didn't estimate the spite as well as the home crowd getting behind them. But let's get into that lineup. We had Dave says world number 1 in net. I think he did pretty good today. Shout out to all the haters. Luke Shaw at left back, Martinez, Varane, center back pairing, Delo right back. We had Sabitzer, Bruno, and then McTominay actually was in the 10. Rashford on the left, Wout Weghorst at number 9.
Keep saying his name like that. Maybe I'll score a goal.
Anthony on the right. How are you feeling about that starting 11?
I was a little surprised not to see McFred. I thought we would have seen that. Or even you had an idea. I thought it was kind of cheeky after the fact, which was like play a fourth midfielder, play like Fred, Sabitzer, McTominay, and then play Bruno on the wing, right? Drop Wout. Would have hoped to see Wout drop, but I guess he's never getting dropped. And then the only one that was really kind of a shocker, but it made sense because AWB was sick, was that Delo. Like Delo got dusted in the first half of the EFL Cup final against the same team, like totally caught out. And guess what? St. Maximin was starting this game. He wasn't the only one to blame, but they certainly went after him in the first half, sir.
It's like you took a team that didn't play well against Fulham.
It's true.
And then you played them against Newcastle, who are better and were playing away. It made no sense why McTominay would go into 10. I have no idea why Fred, and obviously I've slated Fred throughout the years, but you have to be thinking conservative in the middle of the park, absorb the pressure of Newcastle. It's going to be hard away. You play conservative, you absorb the pressure, and you go long to Rashi. And the thing is, if you're not going to go long to Wout, who's going to head it on or flick it on for Rashford Anthony, then there's no reason for him to be on the pitch. Because you're not going to be able to go toe-to-toe right out of the gate. That's exactly how we got bossed at Fulham. It's almost like we're a little stubborn in our game planning so that when we show up, it played into Fulham's hand. This played into Newcastle's hands. They came at us, couldn't handle the pressure. Start from the jump. United caught out on the break. Martinez blocks a shot on the goal line. This is the same thing we saw against Fulham. And first 10 minutes in,
worse almost.
You knew exactly how today was going to go.
Yeah.
And you can't blame fixture congestion on this one because everyone had 2 weeks off. Not everyone, but some players did. 16th minute, United out of sorts. De Gea comes up, big double save to keep the game even. Newcastle should have been up at least 1.
Yeah.
Here, I think they had over 3 XG, which is just insane.
4 XG, sir.
19th minute, another great chance for Newcastle. Longstaff goes just wide. Make a change. Something. Change it.
20th minute sub.
It's like literally, this is not working. Like this. We'll get to the breakdown of why it doesn't work. But 35th minute, Isaac with another great chance. Nice block from United. No chances for United until the 42nd minute, but another one in the 38th. Newcastle nearly hits top bin, just missed.
Also Longstaff. Longstaff another hit, but that was the one that was going. And De Gea.
But it was wide open, too.
It was.
We were discombobulated. And again, when you say there's no Casemiro, there's no one getting everyone in line, it's just we look a different team.
Yeah.
42nd minute, Anthony with a chance at the far post, but only just a half. This one was the only shot of the entire game for United. We go in at half is 0-0. Surely the manager would change it, right? I mean, obviously, you have no AWB. You can't change the low. Yeah. Wout has to come off. He is doing nothing.
When do I get to rip in
after the game?
Okay,
we'll talk about Wout after the game.
I'm looking forward to that.
But you can't play tick-a-tack. Like we were playing 2 tick-a-tack. You got to go long to Rash. At a certain point, you just got to say, "Hey, we got to pack it in. Go long to Rashford here."
The takeaway. Sorry, sir.
Yep, go for it.
No. The takeaway is that how do you not make changes at halftime? Right? It's like how stubborn do you have to be where you think that like no, this 11's going to figure it out because I think it was quite clear in the first half. This 11 wasn't figuring it out. They were pressing us. We couldn't play out the back. We couldn't pass to the midfield. And when we did,
we couldn't pass it all to the midfield.
Working.
It was. You look at the pass map. I looked at the pass map in the first half. It's like the midfield was the issue, which made no sense because we come out second half. It looks just as bad, and then he puts in a double sub of Sancho and Martial for Wout and Anthony. Like, I get Wout out. That's totally fine here, but the problem's with the midfield, and that's what led to the goal in the 65th minute. So. Eric Ten Hag, what you smoking me? All right, start queuing up this goal real quick here, just so we can, just the pain. 65th minute, here we go.
It's in!
wheels away! And the Gallagher growls its joy! Almiron's broad grin, a collective Geordie grin. It took a while, they found a way.
Well, he's earned that goal, Joe Willock.
You'd like to say they didn't deserve it, but they did. McTominay steps up out of position, leaves his man. That's when all the scrambled eggs start.
Brilliant
and
run.
then back post.
But no one tracks back. Look at that. That's even a worse angle, right? All those midfielders that got caught out. Yeah, they don't go back post to cover. No one's left there. This is not a goal that should happen because there should be defenders that are coming to cover for that. But you're absolutely right. It's like Newcastle deserved the goal. They got the goal, and they got the lead. And this was a long time coming, and I was just shocked that the changes that happened are the ones that did happen. But you know what? The one good thing, sir, is at least I didn't have to listen to Graham Lasso because we were watching the Spanish coverage. It could have been worse.
Didn't help.
If Graham Lasso was covering it, it would have been way worse.
It doesn't help when you just see it. 76th minute, Newcastle hit the post. United doing nothing. Martial, refreshing to see someone who has a touch and has a shot.
That was nice.
Unbelievable when
nice.
you're literally like I used to call
striker.
Martial a bum. I don't know what that makes about, but oh my god, you're like he has a touch. He can beat a man with that touch and then shoot. He did an 86. Goes wide. I think it was blocked. 83rd minute triple sub Facundo, Fred, and Lindelof for McTominay, Martinez, and Varane. And that didn't led to a few chances for United, but in the 88th minute, Newcastle would get their second.
Away plus stoppage time from victory over Manchester United. Trippier with the free kick.
It's two!
And this is like,
Callum Wilson bounces off
this
the
is
bench.
when you got to say what
Thank you for cutting the audio. I appreciate it.
you have to say what this is, right? Because at 1-0, right, people are going to say, you're like, they scored their second one in the 88th minute. But at 1-0, we score one goal.
We started
and
playing
it is
a little bit.
game
Yeah,
on.
we started playing a
And
little
like a draw here is really good for us.
Yeah, it is.
So I wouldn't even care about the win, but we didn't even play. Like, it was give one to get one. It was like when we played against Liverpool and we had to send everyone forward and we were wide open at the back. I just felt like we couldn't control it. And again, it started in the midfield for me because when you have that gaping hole without Casemiro, that's where it all starts and where it all ends. And we don't have that. We look like a different team. And obviously, we don't have Eriksen either. That should be noted too. But Erik ten Hag is out of sorts when it comes to fixing this problem. This is a problem we got to fix because Casemiro gets a bunch of straight red cards. So
Apparently.
it's a problem.
Apparently.
7 games in the league. And
Jesus Christ.
oh my God, this one hurts. And what really killed me is we gave up after this goal. This team gave up. Absolutely. You don't like to see United teams give up, but this one we did give up. And I'm going to point the finger. Bruno gave up. Like Lindelof gave up. Like a bunch of players who didn't even try. It was like so sad that at least you could run around, make an effort, but we really capitulated here after this goal, and that is not something worthy of the United shirt. Has to be said. So when you talk about these types of lows, this is Rangnick says open heart surgery. This team still has this in us, is what I'm trying to say. This culture, this group of players, we did get rid of the toxic troll Ronaldo, but it hasn't solved all the problems. I don't think that would solve all the problems. We still have wet noodle, start to the game, drop our heads, and then give up when we're just letting goals in. And this is Manchester United. We should be winning titles, not like dropping into a race for top 4. The standard has to be better. I trust Erik ten Hag, but god damn, this was a tough one to watch.
I think we all know what we need to work on in this team. It's a work in progress. It's obviously not the finished article, and today was a humbling. We got beat up by a Newcastle team that, let's be honest, even that 11, we're a better team than Bonesaw FC. You know, let them have it. Let them have it. Eddie Howe, you can do whatever you want. But United, we know we need to work on playing top teams on the road. We have actually a terrible record under this manager on the road against the Big Six. frankly, Newcastle at the moment is included in the Big Six. And it's just about moving forward, and hopefully he can rectify some wrongs. I agree that there's a lot of soft mentality in this side. You know, we got rid of a lot of dead weight, a lot of bad personalities beyond Ronaldo. So if you think about all the players that left last summer, because Ronaldo didn't leave to the January, we got rid of a lot of players that made sense. We still have a lot of maturation to go. We have a lot of more personalities that we need to bring in. And we got a lot of upgrades that we need to make, right? But at the end of the day, you got to fight harder. You're in this game at 1-0, like you said. You got to draw. It's a great result, right? Because you keep them off your ass a little bit. You stay in third, they stay in fourth, and instead they leapfrog you.
No, you got to you have to put your boot on their throat and step on it. That's what this game was. It was like, you're not taking it. We're going to make top four. You fight for the last spot. Like, this was a serious tone-setting match, and we, like, just horrendous.
Shot the bed?
Like,
Shot the bed,
like,
I think, is the analogy.
Didn't even show up, didn't get off the bus. Like, look at this stat sheet. Like, this gets me fired up. 22 shots to 6.
So
6
which
on
team?
target
Newcastle,
to 1.
22.
Like, Newcastle, like, just completely dominating the score sheet. We had no answers. The manager had no answers. The players didn't care to do it. This was just complete reversion to the old Manchester United that we saw under Rangnick and under Ole. And that's the one thing I'm going to say is, like, we have this in us. We have not gotten rid of it. And I'm concerned to see if the manager can turn it around. I want the manager to turn it around. I will take a win at all costs against Brentford to turn this thing around before it goes down meltdown. I don't want to go meltdown because, like, I am not going back to Hans and Franz, I'll tell you. Thursdays, not good for the schedule. Don't want to watch it. Don't want to see it. I want to win it.
Yes,
But not this year, fine. But next year, no. No, we have to make top four. We are not, like, for the season we've had and the goodwill this manager has built up with this crew, to have them wet noodle this race for top four would just be, like, insane. And you know who would take it from us? The wet noodles of all wet noodles.
Spurs.
So
We're still in it, but we're going to make it interesting. And that sucks. It should have been a position where, if you looked at us a month or two ago, we should have been heads and shoulders away from the fourth, fifth, sixth position teams looking to make a name. Matches have caught up to us. Poor performances have caught up to us. I'm not going to excuse everything. We just haven't played well enough. We haven't gotten the results we needed to. We've gotten beat up a number of times in a big way, and today was another one. And this is one of the first matches where I actually do want to hear what the manager says, because we were way off of it. Like, the XG alone, it's like 4 to a half a point for United, and that's just not acceptable, because Newcastle, they're building something, but they're not heads and shoulders away from Manchester United, and they looked it today.
what do we know? Let's check in with the manager, Erik ten Hag.
Samuel, Erik, are you surprised at how poor the performance was today, given that some players had time off and it seemed to be pressure? Are you surprised how bad it was?
I was surprised that we could match the determination and the passion of the side of the opponent. And I think, before, when you travel to St. James Park, to Newcastle, what will be going on, and especially after we win the cup. And so if you want to win big games, you have to be mature, and I didn't see that today on the pitch.
Why do you think that was? Do you think the players underestimated Newcastle and how much this game might mean to them?
No, I don't think they underestimate Newcastle. I think they play above their levels because they weren't so eager. But you could expect it. If I said, they lose a big game against us, and of course they were determined to win this game. But then you have to match that, and you have to be aware of that situation from the start. And we didn't. We didn't enter too many times the final third. We didn't enter too many times the box from the opponent, and they could easily come into our box. But what we did well was blocking shots for the chances they create. But I think we have to do it much better.
Lauren.
3 Premier League games without a goal now. Is that a concern, and what can we do to remedy it?
Look, I always have to laugh about such questions, because that is you bringing up a story, but we score in many other games. We do score. we create. Today, definitely we didn't. But also in the games where you now refer to 2 games before, where we did create chances. Today we didn't create too many chances. But I know this team has the quality to score goals. Today, that was not a good day for us.
I think we're ending on that. Today was not a good day. Sorry, absolutely just trying to hang in there. Eric Ten Hag getting bullets at the presser. It's just like, oh, yeah.
We all been there. We all taking bullets. I'm taking bullets this weekend, so I'm watching both kids with the wife out of town, and I feel a little bit like Ten Hag feels.
You need like a post-match presser. How's it going with the diapers? How are we doing?
Beat up. Like, oh yeah, here's the development. The kid learned how to like crawl into the crib today. Like he's out. John was over watching the game. He's like, your kid's out.
He's like, once they like out of jailbreak, everyone's seen the movie, like
Jesus
Prison
Christ.
Break. Let's go. What does this mean for the table?
What does this mean?
Sir, it's hard to see. And it's hard to see those 5 green check marks by the Arsenal, who are winning 29 games, 72 points. Not only are United faltering here, the team that we've been making fun of for a long time is just striding on to try to win that EPL title. 28 matches, 64 for City. Huge comeback win against the Scouse Bastards. I guess it could be worse. Could be a Scouse Bastard or a Chelsea
they're an
fan.
8th. And Chelsea aren't even on the board anymore. And by the way, can we just let's bring back better Villa, top 10.
Top 10
Villa,
on
9th
the 5.
place.
Yeah.
They're going for Liverpool, sir. The good thing is we have 2 teams to fight for the top 4 battle instead of 3, because we thought Liverpool, after they beat us up, they would be pushing on and be like a fucking issue. And right now they're not, because they have
Also
not
shows
won a
us
game.
losing 7 to them that's a red flag. That is because they're not good and they haven't figured it out, and they're not on a run, and we just got destroyed by them. 3rd place, Newcastle took it from us. They took it from us. A team like that, 50 points, 27 played. We've played 27, 50 points. We are dead even, but you know what? They have 18, plus 18 to the goal differential. We have to do it on points. Last 5, United lost 2, won 2, drawn 1. Last 5, Newcastle lost 2, won 3. That's the difference here. And then obviously Tottenham, 28 played, 49 points. They have a shout. If we drop points against Brentford, then we're fighting with Tottenham. We're going down the list. We were fighting for 2nd with Man City. Now we're fighting for 3rd. 3rd's guaranteed. Now we're fighting for 3rd with Newcastle. Now we're fighting for 4th with Tottenham. We are falling fast, and this manager needs to turn this ship around by Wednesday.
Against the 7th place Brentford side, who, like we talked about at the beginning of the pod, they beat us up early in the season. That was a humbling match in London in the heat. It was a hot day down in London. And United, we need to get a result. And we're needing a result with a team that's not our preferred 11, right? Because you're going to have big omissions. You're going to have no Eriksen. You're going to have no Casemiro. You're going to have Martial probably is not ready to start a game, even though, like, this doesn't really matter or make sense because he's never available. But the step up from Wout to him is immense. It's like you have a real striker. It's like he can actually take the ball in his foot. He can make a move. He can take a shot. You love to see it because it adds such a huge amount to this team to have a player that actually can fit in the style of play. And I feel like, wow, there's a bit of big old block in a round hole, or it just doesn't work. It doesn't work. It's been an admirable try from the manager. This is me getting in, sir. This is the slate time, sir. They gotta stop the whole playing him up front. You can't have a striker that can't score goals. He can't win a header. That's the thing. It's like I said this on a different pod. If he can win headers, I'd give him a shout, right? Because you're not great at your feet. He's a big lad. But if you're 6'7", you have to win headers. You have to win headers, and he can't win headers. And he is not up to Manchester United standard. I hate to say it. It's not his fault.
We're just going to have a Wout tangent right here.
I'm doing it. I'm doing it.
We can have it now.
Let's have it now or later. We might as well have it before we get to Brentford. But he needs to get dropped for the midweek game.
It's a great point. It's a great point.
Rashford needs to start up front. Play, who cares? Play Sancho on the left and Anthony on the right. Play Sancho on the left, Facundo on the right. Doesn't matter. But drop Wout Weghorst because he is making this team worse. I don't care how much he runs around.
He's not the reason. First of all, he's not the.
He's not the problem, but he's a problem.
Only
he's
problem.
a problem.
I would say the midfield is why, with Casemiro in the midfield and that being sorted, we can get away with Wout. but you can only get away with him to a certain extent. And then if you have other issues, then he's a glaring issue. And like I said, when we acquired him, watching this team for over 20 years.
I hate to say how right you were.
Watching this team for over 20
2 goals.
We are going to sign a Burnley reject who was a Burnley. You know where Burnley plays? Not in the Premier League. He did not do a good job.
They're
for
on
them.
their way back.
He literally did not do a good job for them. He scored 2 goals, and he looks about that for United. So why would we expect anything different? The manager's Dutch. He's Dutch. Look, here's the deal. He's not good enough for United.
He's not.
So the most positive case for Wout is that he should play 50% of the games against lower end opposition, like we played Betis or Sevilla in Europa League or Southampton or Fulham. Totally makes sense to play him there now because we have no other options. But if you're playing Newcastle and we're going to have to hit him on the break anyway, Rashford has to be playing through the middle. You cannot argue and start him against Newcastle. That's when you get burnt. You play him against City. He can't hang. The big sides, we've seen him. And then we have other issues. It does not work. Rashford has to be through the middle against Newcastle. Our only hope was to play a through ball into Rashford and get a breakaway goal on the counter. And if you have out there clogging things up, it makes no sense. He can't play every game. I think the main issue is that there's a role for him in this side right now. I don't hate him that much. I don't think he's the problem. But you cannot play him every game. That is where the Dutch on Dutch bias, he's his boy, whatever, that is weird. He should not play every game. The Newcastle game was a time to drop him. Rashford through the middle, get Bruno on the left to get the extra midfielder. That was the way to play this game. And I think the manager got it wrong.
And you have a chance to figure it out next game because Brentford are a really good side. They're not like a bottom of the half team you could just roll over and not worry about like Everton. Like we're hoping Everton will be on the weekend. They're going to be tough, and I think this is a great opportunity to play what you should have done for Newcastle, right? It's like add an extra midfield. Their midfield's really good. They have really good strikers. I'm less worried about the defense. If we can figure it out in the middle of the park, it's just like, maybe there is a role for Wout to play, but it's not as like your week in, week out starter. 16 games, 2 goals, sir. That is like Burnley production. He just isn't good enough. He isn't good enough to play for this team. That's not his fault. But I think
it just makes you feel better to like slate him.
It does. It makes me feel a little bit better. He's not the problem. He's a problem. And we have wingers that we can fit in now, and you could play Marcus Rashford up front.
There's also Martial.
Look, Christ, you could play Alonga, bro. Like he scored more goals.
No. I'm not that. I don't hate Wout that much. At the end of the day, he look. There's a role for him to play. It's just not every single game. I'm not going to say he shouldn't play for United now. I'm not saying we don't need him because we need bodies. I'm saying you cannot play him every game. And the Newcastle game, it just is found out. They literally are pressing the halfway line. They're like, we don't have to worry about this guy. He can't run for nothing. If you had Rashford in there, it would open up space.
It opened up in the last 20 minutes.
The center backs for Newcastle are thinking, Rashford's going to get him behind. It's just a totally different way to play against United. But let's get into this next match.
Last thing. It's bad. So they don't pass to him. They see him open, and they don't pass to him.
Yeah, like a famous lacrosse player.
Yeah, me. Like when I used to play lacrosse in Jersey, worst player on the team, they'd stick me up front because I was a big boy, couldn't move too much, and they never passed to me because if they threw the ball to me, I just drop it. And there goes.
You are correct. They do not pass to him. And then when they do, it's like they're like, we should not have passed to him.
They literally they see him open and they don't pass to him because they know.
So and usually for like a $6 billion football club who's like greatest of English football, won it all, you don't have players like that on your team where you're not passing.
Like me, you mean?
Yeah, usually you want to pass to everyone because they're all good. But let's get into this match. There's hope. There's a next match. That's what we live for. Brentford versus Manchester United, Old Trafford. We're coming home April 5th, noon Pacific, 3 p.m. Eastern. Great kickoff. And what better way to turn it around than a tight turnaround? I think tight turnarounds are easier for the lads because they don't have to sulk for a week.
Yeah.
I also think that it's good for the manager as well. If we can right this wrong real soon, I think the lads will be hyper-focused. That taste of that Newcastle sting, the English press coming down their back, the Twitter sphere getting all over them. I think they're going to want to show up here. Lifetime versus Brentford, 8. Drawn 2, lost 2. So we've won 8, dominated them. First time we ever played them, 7-1 in the FA Cup. Wow, a 7-1 result could go a long way for this team. And oh, by the way, this team has to get back at them for that 4-0 that we lost. Last 5, lost 1, won 3, drawn 1. This 4-0, if you don't have dogs in your team if you're not thinking about writing that 4-0. If that 4-0 doesn't sting and that you want to make Brentford pay for that, like, and we show up soft, that's a big red flag for me. Because every player who's on this level should be like, we got to right that wrong. We got to beat them 4-0. It has to be an emphatic victory. And if we show up and we're like, we can't figure it out today, like, that's no excuses.
That's a very good point. It's a really good point because that game was a huge match, turning point, because half the pundits in England were calling for Erik ten Hag to be sacked already after they lost the second game of the season. Obviously, that was the game where they did the famous run in the heat after the fact, and the manager joined in, and then they made the most of it by beating Liverpool in a big match early in the season. We need a big win. Brentford, they're a tough team. They're high flying with their 7th place, and they got Tony, bro. They got like a good keeper. They're going to be a tough team to break down. We get the bonus of being at home, and I think you made a really good point. There's got to be a revenge. There's got to be a feeling like we owe this team one. So let's give it to them. Let's pour it on. Let's get not just a victory, but a resounding victory. We haven't had one of those. I feel like when we win, we squeak it out, and when we lose, we get blown out. It's like we don't have any in between. So that's why our goal differential is so shit. But this is a huge game against the Beast, sir. I hope we don't get stung.
Coming into this game, Brentford beat Fulham 3-2. They lost to Everton. That gives us some hope, 1-0. They beat Southampton 2-0, who we drew. They drew Leicester City 1-1, and then they just drew Brentford just yesterday 3-3. They have some goals in them. They concede as well. As far as their starting lineup, they play the 5-3-2. Tony up front is very dangerous, but you're going to remember, sir, they're just going to be...
You know these guys?
They're going to have some confidence.
Ben Mee, solid defender. Raya is a keeper that actually United apparently has been attracted to because he's coming out of his contract. Spaniard. Dude, they're tough. Dude, you know who they are. They play really compact. They run on the they'll come at us on the break. And Mbemo, he's a player. But either way, they got a Danish manager with like a great flow, great haircut. And they're going to be a really tough team to play, sir.
And they're going to have a little bit of swagger about them, you know?
They beat us up at home.
Well, there's nothing about United that doesn't say they're coming to our house and they're going to say everyone that tries to get at this team does well. So they're going to come right at us. So you have to, not only you have to expect they're going to come right at us, and we're going to have to be able to deal with that. The pressure playing it out, the whole 9 yards. Physio room, Donnie down for the season. Casemiro suspended with the red card. Eriksson not back yet, but he's on the field training. Sabitzer's back, Martial's back, Ron is back, Rashford is back, and Garnacho's the only one out. So it's just basically Casemiro, Eriksson, and Garnacho. So we're getting healthy.
Donnie, but he ain't playing.
Critical time.
His career's over.
Another Dutch player who got like a lot of minutes with Erik ten Hag for no reason.
Anyway, given that those are the injuries here, what is your starting 11?
I'm going to say... Well, we had mentioned Wan-Bissaka was sick.
He was ill for today's game. I'm assuming he'll be back because it's just sickness, right? That usually clears up in a day or two.
You got to go Dave saves, Wan-Bissaka, Varane, Martinez, Shaw. I think that picks itself. You got to go Fred, McTominay, midfield with Bruno. You're going to have to play Rashford, Martial, and Antony. Yep. I think that team is going to be able to do it. It has to. Look at the money spent and versus Brentford. You got to be kidding me. You got to dominate them.
We spent a lot of money, sir. We spent a lot of money,
that front line alone.
Not world-class players. Same 11. Sancho for Anthony. That's the only change I made. Even though Sancho didn't look too good.
Out of shape, Sancho?
Yeah, he didn't look great when he came on. At least like Anthony, he was running. He was pressing the hell out of him. He probably deserves to start more so. But I
should
think
not have subbed him. I didn't agree with that sub. I didn't agree with that. I think he was our best attacker.
This guy defending Anthony. I love to see it.
No,
it's
I
true.
said
He was pretty good. He actually was okay. He cut in a couple of times, and then Sancho came in and did
he's a good player. He's just not worth the money. I'm saying if you bought him for $50 million, like you look at Martinez, what price you pay, you like worth every dime.
Yeah, bargain.
Anthony, it's the price. I'm glad he's on United, but he's some of the it's not $86 million player,
no,
sir.
He's not.
Like
no, he's not.
43.5.
Well,
take it.
Is Sancho a $73 million player?
No, but he's bust already. Like Sancho's, it's like that's that.
He's already been
Sancho
written off.
He
is.
That's like I've written that off the balance sheet.
Looking like
that's
a bust.
a write-off. That's we're gonna take the loss on that.
Looking like an old-fashioned bust.
Yeah, let's look at Anthony is good. That's right. He's not bad. Like Sancho, I think just didn't have it. But Anthony looks good. It's just I just don't know if he's gonna come up to the price. And that's hard for a player, but worthy book, he's got it.
Yeah, United are the favorites, minus 165 at home, plus 320 for the draw, and plus 450 for Brentford to do the job on the road. I don't hate those odds. If I was a neutral, I might be betting Brentford on the road because, dude, we're not playing well, and I think Brentford know they can get one on us, and they're gonna come at us. Sir. This is gonna be a tough match. What is your score prediction given all that we just went through?
I think we get away with it. I think it's like 2-1, but it's not pretty
Ugly. Yeah, I think 1-1. I think the slide continues. Like, we got a draw, not a great one, and then we got to get a result against the Toffees to keep our heads above water.
It's about desperate times when I'm like predicting the win that I'm not confident about because we have to win.
Have to win.
We have to win. Absolutely have to win. Let's get into the news. United in the news. Luke Shaw, new contract. How are we feeling about this one? Takes the club. 4-year deal. What do you make of this? We got Rashford outstanding. We got De Gea outstanding.
Fred and Delo, the other big ones.
Luke Shaw locked up. How you feel?
Other than Marcus, obviously I want De Gea secured. This is a big one. This is an important one. This is the one that makes total sense. The player, he's come a long way from his leg breaker. He's come a long way from meat pie, right? He's now the impossible meat pie. I think he's showing consistency week in, week out. He's a player, and he has a role to play. And I think the left side of the pitch, the left side of the defense is locked in. Right back, who the fuck knows? But like Shaw and Malacia, I think are a great complement to the two of them. Shaw can play center back. He played center back a couple times this season really well. And I think these contracts have worried me. The fact that we haven't seen any progress, and now it's the 2nd of April, and we're just getting the first of the 5 locked in. Better late than never, but we need more of these.
There is a takeover, so it's probably distracting from the contract negotiations.
But you would think
Rashford's
renewal,
number one.
Yeah, that's number one
by far. And that's going to be funny to hear how that goes with we don't pay people more than $200K a week.
You think he's getting paid more than $200 a week? Probably.
Yeah, of course. That was just the dumbest article we've ever read. Like the dumbest take by Murtaugh Arnold we'd ever had on the pod. But that's how dumb they are. This not a dumb move. Luke Shaw, for me, it comes down to we had this discussion today, who's a bluffer in the team, who isn't. I don't think Luke Shaw's a bluffer. Scored in the Europa League final for England. He's a solid player. I don't know if he's not the leader, right? He's not a dog. I'm not going to call him a dog like Martinez to set the tone, like Casemiro, like those players do. But when he's got those players next to him, he's world class. Just like we said, you could bring in Harry Kane. If we have enough dogs, we have enough edge around this team, we could just really do damage. And for me, it's about the intangibles. Honestly, I think it's leadership. I think it's having that mentality and that experience to know what it takes to go win away in a big game in the English Premier League. And I think we lack that. I'm just saying, Shaw, to me, the manager rates him. The manager found out a new position for him. It makes a 4-year deal. This is as easy as you like. Down the fairway, get it done. We don't need to worry about left back. Let's worry about right back because that's really the problem today. You saw Delo. He had a good, I think, 4-month run. He looked almost like it was his position and not looking great ever since he came back from injury. Also, Wan-Bissaka had a better season, but this is United of the last decade. Players just not good enough. And in my opinion, if you're not going to hit that level, hit that consistency, or own the position, it's like you got to sign someone else. And I think United will probably be heading in that direction, but it depends on who owns us.
That's a good point. But you know what? We've had a lot of history over the last 10 years of giving players contracts who didn't deserve one. And at least this, of the new era, this feels like a contract truly deserved. Luke Shaw has earned a new one. It's good to lock that down for the next 4 years. He was one of the big 5 that was up for grabs, and I'm glad his future is secure at Manchester United because he's a solid player. He's like a fucking brick shithouse. He's got pace. He's a decent defender. He can put in a really good left ball from a free kick or from a corner. And I think he's going to get better and better. And like you said, he doesn't have to be the leader, but he's a player, and he's a great player at left back. And I love the fact that he can also play center back as well because the manager rates him more highly than Lindelof or Maguire. What does that say about those two?
Absolutely. Our next bit of news here. Scotty McTominay faces an uncertain future at Manchester United despite his recent goal-scoring heroics for Scotland. with flying high Newcastle expected to come in for the in-form midfielder. Sir, how do you feel about Sky McTominay?
Hey, the McTerminator, he was a player that everyone remembers the brace he had against Leeds, those early 2 goals. He's had very high highs. McTerminator, he's an academy player. He's a player that everybody's rooting for. I think ultimately he could be starting for an EPL side week in, week out. Is he good enough for Newcastle? Maybe. Is he good enough for a Brentford? Probably. But he's a player like Harry Maguire that he can go to half the teams in the EPL and play every single game and offer a lot. I'd hate to let him go, but I feel like there's a demand for him. He can offer certain clubs exactly what they're looking for because he's got the height, he's got some size, he's actually got decent feet for a player his frame. And I feel like we could actually get some money for him, which is not we can always say about this team around deals. So I would deal him. Get in Sabitzer.
You would deal him.
I would deal him. Yeah, I would deal him.
Oh my god!
Bring in a Sabitzer and then bring in another player.
No.
I would. You're gonna keep McTominay?
If you think of McTominay sans the current United side, which is all the problems associated with it, he is the perfect squad midfielder for Manchester United. If you've watched this team for the last 20 years or this is the player to do the job, the stopgap. He can't be the only guy next to Sabitzer who isn't the guy either, who is playing the midfield with Bruno, who is not going to help you out on defense. So it's he needs to be next to Casemiro with another world-class midfield. Him, Casemiro, and Eriksen, I bet you he's fine. Bet you he does a great job. That's the guy you want at this team. Now, here's the thing. Is Fred the guy? No, he's not. Are we going to probably resign him because it's cheap? Yes. So then that adds to the problem where if you have not the guy, and then a squad player. But I'm saying 50 million signing who needs to be the guy who isn't, and then you have a quality squad player. Are you going to get rid of the quality squad player who's going to go play in England for a rival? This is more, I do agree the tone around this one is probably sell him, but it's only because we just have a bunch of not good enoughs in the midfield for Manchester United, and I like Sabitzer. I think he has potential as an attacking midfielder, but we have way too many attacking midfielders. We need box-to-box, hungry, defensive-minded midfielders. That's what we need. So maybe that's why I'm saying harshly hitting on Sabitzer, but if you have Eriksen, Bruno, and Sabitzer, and then you're lacking those dogs who can do the dirty work, and it's we need players that can do the dirty work at United. There's one of them, and we're dying without him. So if it ain't Fred, then we got to get rid of Fred. We got to get a new one, and probably 2 new ones, and then maybe you get rid of McTominay, but I just think we're lacking a certain type of player, and he's a good squad player. I hate to see him go.
No, so the midfield shuffle over the coming summer transfer window is going to be an interesting one, right? Fred's out of contract. Fred's out of contract. What do you do with Scott, right? There's demand there. You obviously need someone to back up Casemiro, even though that's going to be easier said than done.
Camavinga.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You think
you need a player like that.
I'll tell you, I'd take Camavinga in a second. He's a player, we need bro. How about Jude Bellingham while you're at it? Why don't we get the best?
No, but another attacking mid. But Camavinga does the box-to-box work. You need someone who's world-class.
That's sign him from Real Madrid?
But you have to upgrade from Fred. You need a player
You need a player better.
You need another Casemiro
you need a player who's
boom,
going
to play next to him. Then you could have McTominay. That's what I'm saying. Casemiro gets injured, you could put McTominay there.
Also if you have Eriksen and Casemiro there, you can get away with one. You could get away with a Fred. You could get away with a Scott McTominay. Having both of those players absent and then having Scott and Sabitzer today, even with a Bruno.
But it's a great point. What's the long-term vision here?
Yeah, this is a tough one. Midfield's going to be the hardest, I think.
Richard Arnold and Murtaugh, they don't know. Those guys have no idea. They're only worried about what's the cheapest option, which is why we're going to stick with Fred. It's going to create more problems, and then we're probably going to get rid of McTominay, and then our midfield, it's going to be hard to sign Sabitzer. Then who's playing CDM?
Yeah.
So some difficult decisions in the midfield, and I hope McTominay isn't a casualty. Although I do rate he was not good enough today. But I do think there's a squad player in there. Next bit of news, sir. You're bringing up some
keep going.
Controversial. We could talk about
it's been a lot of news on this guy.
Tier 4, unreliable. Greenwood told that he will not return to United at least until next season. United are understood to be split on the issue, with staff in the footballing department arguing whether he should be given a second chance. Commercial executive is more wary amidst concerns over the potential damage to reputation. I mean, this is one of those things where the club. There was an article in the Athletic, right? Wasn't that this is what kind of started this? The article in the Athletic kind of
how he's been a bad egg basically for the last 5 years. He's always had issues with his
something
personality.
Like that,
He thought he was hot shit. He would talk down to other players. He'd be late. He got sent home early from Euros, right? Because I think he actually
But so did Foden.
Yeah, but they were together. Obviously, he got the blame because, who the
Yeah, but
press
this
go
one,
after.
everyone, here's the thing.
Well-
Everyone could hope for a different outcome, but everyone knows the outcome. The outcome is that this guy should be nowhere near this club. Like 100%. You heard the audio, you've seen the photos. Now you hear about what he was in before, and it's like not a good guy.
No.
That's probably let's saying it lightly here on the podcast. He should be nowhere near this club. He should be nowhere near that badge, and that is ultimately the key issue with this. And I'm tracking this closely. If United, the only reason why he would come back was because of the Glazers
hanging around,
just trying to make money off of him, because it's a money issue. This is completely a money issue, and when you only make decisions about money, you're going to lose the culture of the club. Because at the end of the day, if you sell him, you have to sell him for nothing. If you play him and he's good, you could sell him for something. So the only way the club makes money is if they bring him back, and everyone knows the gravity of the situation with money and the Glazers, but he should be nowhere near this team.
No, I'm with you. But now we're hearing he will not return until next season. When we were
He will not return next season.
But I'm saying is we were hearing he will not return at all, and now he will not return until next season, as in he will return. And like you said, it's over. It's got to be over. You let him go. You sell him for cheap to Turkey or anywhere that will take him, and just move on with their lives. But instead, you have people who don't hold themselves in high regard in terms of making moral decisions. They make decisions on cash.
It's disgusting.
And that's what they do. They're going to bring him back and try and get a fee for him and try to make
I don't
the most
know.
of him.
Look, we have to. Here's the thing. You also got to draw the line. We've said it. We had the discussion on the pod. No, he's not coming back. It's time to move on. It's obviously time to move on. Like, he should be nowhere near the club. Like, that's it. Period. Stop. End of sentence. That is it. United has sat on that. The case being dropped, and have not said a word about it. And that's ultimately the problem here, is the club needs to set the tone.
Yeah, that's right.
And the fact, the longer it goes, that they don't address it, and you hear things in the press and this and that, and there's rumors, it's probably going the way where he's coming back, because that's just not a good sign.
Yeah. That's a good point. Right?
Cut ties, pay out the contract,
Move
cut
on with
ties, move on. United should have nothing like this at our club, and we don't condone anything in this realm, and boom, done. And United move on. We don't need him. What is the whole idea that he's going to come back and save United? It's come on. It's United is much bigger than that. Worldwide appeal, and they're right to not bring him back. So I'm hoping they'll come to their senses.
I'm 100% in agreement with you. I included it because they are now caveated that he's coming back, but he's coming back next year, and that should not be the case. He should never come back. Cut ties, move on with their life. We got plenty of talented players.
That's going to be the Glazers eroding more of this great club. Next one here, Manchester United to step up Marcus Rashford contract talks. I's departures and I departures in the summer. Sources have told ESPN that the club are ready to listen to offers for a number of senior players in a bid to increase the summer budget and navigate financial fair play. That would be the likes of Maguire, maybe McTominay,
Bailly, Telles,
yes.
Hendo. We got all these players that
Tell
we
us
need to
about
ship.
Telles.
How's Telles doing? Eric Bailly, how's he doing?
And then we have some more articles here.
A lot of articles. $1 billion. I had to include the billion because we've been calling this. You've been calling this for a long time.
Yes, finally the press. I've been calling this for years.
They finally got the books open, right? They finally reveal how much in long-term liabilities this club actually owns beyond just bank debt.
Oh my God, this is the point.
It's a lot of it. £967 million.
But this is the whole thing. I talk about this when we review the
now it's
financials
confirmed,
always.
sir.
I was
It's
the
for
debt
you.
number is not the debt number, but the journos just literally go to debt, and it's actually you have to go to payables, and they actually have a footnote in the financial statements that break out the table, and these are all the transfer fees they owe, except everything they put on the credit card. So they have $500 million in debt. Then they put another $450 million on the credit card. That's the Antony signing. That's the Martinez signing. That's the payments to all these clubs. And now the journals are picking up Simon Stone. I've called him out a million times. Great to see him do some journalistic research because they're a public company and this has been out there forever. But now I guess they're looking at it, which is great. Great to see.
Yeah. This sale, I'm talking really about sale updates, sir. That sale story, I don't know where it's going to fall. I still think the Glazers are going to be hanging around in the summer.
A lot of hemming and hawing.
It feels like
the
it.
bids come in.
Like you said,
they're apart on valuation.
if it was advanced, you had said this, maybe 3 weeks ago. You're like, if it was more advanced, we'd be hearing a lot more rumors. And all we're hearing about is posturing from really the Glazers, the Qataris, being like, "Oh, we've got a great bid. It's debt free. It's the best offer. We're gonna invest so much money." It's just them trying to like curry favor from Manchester United fans globally. It's working to a certain extent. Many fans are on board. But at the end of the day, they have to meet the valuation that the Glazers set, and the Glazers have set a top-tier valuation. And then you just have like all these fans being like, "Oh, how could they turn down this offer?" It's like, bro, they own the club. They own it. They own the entire club. They can do whatever the fuck they want, for better or for worse. And they're only going to do what's best for them.
Old
yeah,
Trafford
they could burn it down if they wanted to.
Like, they could literally move the state. They could do whatever they want. They could just change the badge.
Change the name. They could change the name.
They could do anything.
They could literally
of course they
let the
won't,
club
but-
just like go into the ether of like, League
But
Two.
the sale process update, and that's a good point, because there's a lot of rumors in the beginning of international break. There aren't a lot now. And the reason why there aren't a lot now, and I'm going to read the tea leaves here, sir, is because there's a big gap in valuation. Yeah. And when you have the second round bid, you're getting close to who's going to buy them. You're getting real close. There's like 2, maybe 3, and you kind of communicate, hey, you got to get here, and then it's usually, no, okay, this guy's going to buy it. We're going to settle up terms with them. But if you have a long gap and there's been nothing said, either there's going to be an announcement that the club's being sold soon, or there's a big gap in valuation. I'm banking it's probably the big gap in valuation, and they're just trying to see who can meet it. But an interesting time in the lull of the storm. Let's jump into fan questions real quick. At the lane, Dilemma. I can't pronounce Twitter names are very hard, but I guess the actual name is I don't like refs,
which is great.
Quote, is Europa League the only avenue to the Champions League at this point? Sweat emoji. Thought about it. Thought about how we need to win Europa League. And honestly, at the rate we are melting down in the league, not a goal, not a win since the EFL final, it might be. And we've done it before. And I'm not giving up on it, but there's something. Casemiro can't come back soon enough. That's all I got to say.
No, I mean, we still have a route. We're still very much in the hunt, but it might end up being the best route to Champions League football or the easiest route because we play a different level. I mean, I feel like us in cups, we're more on it. We show up. We have more consistency, especially in Europe. We've been really terrific, knock on wood before we meet up with Sevilla. But we've been excellent in the Europa League, and I think we'll continue to do so. So it might be the best chance. We might be Budapest end of May, sir, and waiting on a victory there. It could be like Jose's first season, right? Got the EFL Cup, got the Europa League, and finished in 6th. That's not outside the realm of possibility. I don't want to see it. I want to see both finish in top 4 and get those extra 2 pieces of trophy, or at least one more. But that Budapest game might matter, bro. We might be having to get the Budapest and have a lot in the line, so we don't have to hear more deep house, bro. I want the Angels back. I miss the Angels.
At Fairway Freddy, too many players. Sancho, Delos, Scotty, Wout, Fred, De Gea, Martial are not good enough. Hey, don't make fun of my boy De Gea. Only so much the other players can do to cover for them. And now Rashi, Bruno are burnt out for the rest of the season. This team is running on fumes. We need a miracle. Have you got one? Great podcast. I'm going to agree with a bunch of names in there, but De Gea is the reason why we didn't lose 5-0. He does give it. He does bottle every once in a while, but
everyone else there deserves to be there. To be fair, and at his worst, De Gea deserves to be there. But
at his worst, you're right. I cannot.
But today he was great. He was great. He kept us in the game.
That's the only reason
I
could have
been in this game. If we showed up in the 70th minute, we could have tied it, and we just didn't. We have a lot of wood to chop. This team has a long way to go. We're not there. It's not going to be built in a year. This man needs multiple windows, and there's still bluffers in the mix. But right now, we need to figure it out. The manager needs to use that super duper brain of his and figure out. I mean, he'll have a big old head. Guy. He's smarter than me, sir. At least in football and operations, and he needs to fuck around with that 11, bro. You got to drop Wout. You got maybe. I liked your idea. Put in another midfielder. We've seen that actually work. Obviously, Bruno's better playing through the middle, but today wasn't good.
All right, we're going to leave it here at DavyT_. Worst United performance in months. This was Newcastle Super Bowl. They can have this. I'd rather have the final. I predict we go on a run from here, but these are huge points to drop. How do you feel about that? We got the one we wanted. We got the trophy. Tough loss, but Ten Hag will figure it out. We'll bounce back.
I mean, that's a nice glass half full take. I'd much rather win the EFL Cup 2-0 than win an EPL game against them 2-0. I would rather lose this game and win at Wembley than the other way around. You can't choose. You can't pick and choose. That's not how the game works. But all being considered, this is a wake-up call, bro. I mean, we had some wake-up calls going into the window, going into the international break, right? That Fulham game, like you said, and the wheels were already starting to fall off. And now the manager has to be a little bit more creative and like roll the dice a little bit more. I think he's been sticking with the same formation, the same boys, and he definitely needs to mix up that front three, because I think even once he dropped Wout and put Martial in, and I know Martial isn't consistent, isn't available often, we just looked more threatening and more exciting and more interesting because like it's just not working. So you got to change it up. Be willing to change it up. Casemiro's not going to be available, so figure out something that will work.
I think the extra midfielder. But we'll see. Look, that's it. That's the podcast. You like the American Red Devils? Support independent fan content. Keep the podcast ad-free. We are leaving money on the table, not having ads in the show. But we go the direct fan support route via Patreon. It's like a tip jar, patreon.com/American Red Devils. Sign up, check it out. We do a behind-the-scenes episode every single month. You want more American Red Devils content? We do a month recap all the matches in a Patreon exclusive episode. So please support us there. Check out our store, AmericanRedDevils.store. Our website as well, AmericanRedDevils.com. Sir, tell us about our top downloads the last 7 days here.
Number one, how you doing? New York, New York. Los Angeles, California, London, England, Orlando, Florida, Chicago, Illinois, San Francisco, California, Atlanta, Georgia, Washington, D.C., Tampa, Florida, and last but not least, Phoenix, Arizona. I appreciate all the American Devils listening week in, week out. We couldn't do it without you. Always darkest for the dawn. Let's go, boys. We got the Bees on Wednesday. We need a big result, and we need a big 3 points.
Let's go. We are the Busby Boys.
Hey,